Are you a fan of cruising? Are you worried about the cruise lines? Do you hope they can start sailing sooner rather than later? Are you willing to do your part to keep the cruise lines from going out of business? What if they ask you to do something difficult in the days ahead? What if they asked you to wear a mask? In today's episode of the Lido Loca cruise show, let's talk about that. If it meant saving cruising, would you wear a mask? Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. My name's Tony. If you enjoy travel and cruising content, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. Well, currently the CDC is recommending that you should wear a face covering when you are out in public. This is in addition to the social distancing guidelines and, of course, the hygiene guidelines of keeping hands washed and keeping your fingers out of your face. The premise is simple. In instances where social distancing breaks down, where it's not possible to stay out of somebody's spray zone, if they wear a mask and if you wear a mask, it minimizes the ability to spread the virus from one person to another. This is the recommendation by the health experts. And look, no cruise line has announced that guests or passengers would have to wear masks. There have been some health protocols released talking about possibly crew members wearing masks when it comes to public-facing jobs. So possibly we'll see crews wearing masks. But again, before we get into this, no cruise line at this point has said that masks are a requirement. The thing that kind of piqued my interest is that of many of the theme parks in Orlando, Disney, Universal, they're talking about reopening soon. And in their language, they are talking about potentially requiring people visiting the parks to wear masks. I just came off of a monster road trip. I had to go up to Western North Carolina, pick up one of my kids and bring him home, and I wanted to do it as quick as possible. I drove about 18 hours of the last 30 hours, and it gave me a lot of time to think about the mask. So here's the deal. I understand where the recommendation comes from. I've been trying to follow the CDC's recommendation of social distancing. I mean, for me, it's stay at home first. If I have to go out to go grocery shopping, social distance, and I wear a mask. And I do believe that mask is a two-way street, that both sides have to wear the mask for that to be effective, but I've been wearing a mask to at least do my part. Now, on this road trip, I drove directly through Georgia. I had to stop and get gas in Georgia twice on the way up, on the way back. And let me tell you, the mask recommendation not going over hugely in Georgia. Both of the times that I stopped at gas stations, the gas stations attendants didn't have masks on, and not many of the other people there getting gas had masks on. So obviously already in this recommendation there is a breakdown. It doesn't necessarily do any good if only one side of the equation has the mask on. Now, if I had the virus, at least I'm doing my part to keep my respiratory droplets to myself, or at least captured in my face covering. It's shocking to me that in most cycles we are distrustful of the politicians and more trustful of scientific medical type people, but it seems in this scenario we're going the other way, putting a lot of trust in politicians and people that aren't medical scientific people, and just ignoring the mask. That's just my observation from my road trip through Georgia. But let's talk about the cruise ships. And like it or not, the cruise line is beholden to the government. They're beholden to the CDC. So they're going to have to accommodate these requirements somehow. Again, it's not been laid out how they're going to do it. But if we look specifically at the CDC's protocol, let me read it to you. It's really twofold. It's masks for situations where social distancing doesn't work. I'll leave a link to this CDC article in the first comment. CDC continues to study the spread and the effects of the novel coronavirus across the United States. We now know from recent studies that a significant portion of individuals with coronavirus, they lack symptoms, and that even those who eventually develop symptoms can transmit the virus to others before showing symptoms. It's a big problem for cruise ships. This means that the virus can spread between people interacting in close proximity, for example, speaking, coughing, sneezing, or even if those people are not exhibiting symptoms. In light of the new evidence, CDC recommends wearing cloth face coverings in public settings where other social distancing measures are difficult to maintain, especially in areas of significant community-based transmission. So that is chock full of nuts when it comes to cruising right there. They use the term close proximity. Think a cruise ship, close proximity, speaking, people that aren't showing symptoms, even when they're speaking, can be spraying out the virus through respiratory droplets while they're speaking. So again, the goal of the mask to catch those droplets. I'll catch my droplets, you catch your droplets. And it's interesting, it's primarily calling out situations where social distancing is challenged. Now, the interesting thing about a cruise ship is, yes, there's challenges for social distancing and there are challenges for mask wearing. So if we think about challenges for social distancing, places like the casino, you're not going to get everybody 6 feet apart. The theater, unless you're going to make it a third full, not going to be able to social distance. There are places where you're not going to be able to move people apart. And at the same time, there are going to be places where people could not wear masks. Main dining room, at the bar, you're not going to be able to put a mask on your face when you're trying to eat and drink. And so really, and again, this is just me guessing, I could see in the beginning, to get cruising started up, a mix, combination of both social distancing and mask wearing. So you could social distance in the main dining room by skipping a table, making sure that people are 6 feet apart when they're eating. You could do it at the bar by shutting down every 3 or 4 bar chairs and have people distance like that. No mask wearing there. Obviously, you can't wear a mask when you're in the pool or in the water slide. So maybe you put out less deck chairs. You keep those deck chairs 6 feet apart. So there are opportunities like that for some social distancing. But in the absence of social distancing, there will be places that would make sense to wear a mask on a cruise ship. And the question is, would you do that? Would you do that to help cruising come back? And that's a question I've struggled with. I just want to say this. I would wear a mask if that would help cruising come back sooner. But just so you have more than my opinion, I did make a poll at the Lido Loca cruising community on Facebook and here on the YouTube community. Let me give you the results. So over on YouTube, we'll start there. There were 1,000 votes, and 53% of the people said, if I have to wear a mask, I'm not going on a cruise. There's 47% of the people that said, yeah, I'll go on a cruise. If I have to wear a mask, I'll wear a mask and go on the cruise. Over at the Lido Loca cruising community, over 1,200 votes, and the majority, 696, say I will not cruise if I have to wear a mask, but 580 said I will wear a mask if that's the requirement to go on the cruise. So if you look at those numbers, it's a decent sampling. Again, YouTube usually skews to people that aren't necessarily cruisers. The Facebook group, definitely cruisers. People saying I won't wear a mask are in the majority. So a lot of people, a lot of comments there saying, look, this isn't what vacation is for me. I'm not wearing a mask. I'm only going to wear a mask where I have to. And that's completely understandable. But I am encouraged by the fact that there is a large number of people that would wear a mask to go on a cruise. It's not the best situation, but in a scenario where there's not treatments, where there's not a vaccine yet, where there's not a clear-cut way of how to keep people from getting sick from this virus, I could see a combination of social distancing and mask wearing allow cruise lines to fire back up again. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, and it's funny, in our society, we're very individualistic, right? I'm not wearing a mask, you're not ruining my vacation. But as a cruising community, maybe there is an appeal to say, look, we can all band together and get cruising started again by going along with some of these health protocols. I don't know. It's just food for thought. Let's continue the conversation down in the comments. If the requirement was you'd have to wear a mask, would you do that so that cruising could start up again? Or are you going to wait until it's mask free? Interesting conversation. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Check out that video I did on social distancing. Those are some of my initial thoughts. And make sure you check out this video that YouTube recommends for you. Show your support for the channel by hitting the like button. My name's Tony for Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.